Good morning and welcome to day one of the Free From an Allergy virtual Christmas show edition. My name is Lauren and I'll be emceeing the event over the next 2 days. We'll be listening to various specialists in their field in order to help you prepare your family for an allergy-friendly Christmas. Today we'll be welcoming Leah Itsines, Jane Murr and Jackie Navard who will help us get Christmas ready. For all those who are tuning in now, make sure you watch along to be in the running to win one of 4 allergy-friendly hampers worth over $100 thanks to our friends at Coles and Table of Plenty. To kick off today's session, we have Leah in Science. Now, most of you probably know Leah. She's a healthy online cook, food blogger, and number one best-selling author of her cookbook. Leah's ethos is to help women around the world with their food and nutrition, providing healthy recipes, guides, and more. Her guides and cookbooks focus on balanced, realistic eating without restriction or guilt to assist women in achieving their goals. Now, if you have any questions, make sure you just look at the tab at the bottom of your screen and ask any there, and then we'll get to them at the end of this session. So I'm so excited to welcome Leah, who will be taking us through her gluten-free pork Christmas roll.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Lauren. So I think I'll just get into it, and hopefully if questions come in, I will answer them as best I can. So today we are doing a delicious gluten-free pork roll. So in my family we have a few people that little kids that can't have as much gluten, so we have little swaps that we can do in Christmas Day just to make them feel included and make sure that there's nothing that they're missing out on. So today we're going to get straight into it. We've got a load of ingredients, but you guys will have this recipe. First, we've got pork tenderloin. So I basically got everything in its packets because I want to take you through everything and how I do it all. So first of all, we're going to make the stuffing. So we would have our ovens turned on, but we're not going to cook it today. We will cook it and then we'll put it in the oven later because it won't obviously cook through. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes in the oven. So we've got to go to do the stuffing. So the stuffing recipe can be put in anything. It doesn't have to be pork. It can actually be popped in some like beef rolls or something like that. Chicken, easy, so yum. So depending on your protein choice, up to you. I'll bring the board down a little bit so you guys can see it. Yeah, perfect. So we're going to do the stuffing. So we've got some garlic here. So again, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Got 3 cloves of garlic. And if you're like me, who absolutely loves garlic, probably a little bit too much, 3 to 5 would be good. Anything garlic is like my jam. So we're just going to basically going to crush this. So on the board straight away. So with this recipe, it typically has breadcrumbs in it, but we're going to use a gluten-free breadcrumb today. So you can make them yourself by just dehydrating some bread or just some stale bread, doing it like that, or you can buy a gluten-free crumb, which is really, really easy. So 3 big garlics, or got 2.5 actually. I don't really call this one a garlic. Remember, questions, bring them through. Oh, goodness me. Here we go. There we go. Garlic gets stuck to my fingers. I don't know what it is, but all right. So straight into a pan. So I've got a little pot here. This is my little like portable cooktop. We've got a cooktop back there. So we're gonna turn this on in a minute. That's fine. We can leave that there. We've got grating the garlic in there. So we want the garlic to be small pieces. If you want it to be like nice chunks, you can slice it. Slicing garlic is a little bit less potent as regular garlic. Maybe we'll just slice the rest of it actually, just so we can show you that. So crushing it, you might notice crushing garlic makes it a lot more potent than slicing. So if someone who doesn't like too much garlic, slicing it might be better. So let's just get our fingers. We'll slice this really quickly. Get that through as thin as we possibly can. That way we're not biting into big garlic chunks. And then we'll go second. This kind of makes me feel a bit better because I feel like I've got more garlic in my dish. So cracking that in there. Perfect. So then we're going to do a bit of olive oil in there, but we'll do the rest of the ingredients. So we've got some mushrooms here. So we've got baby button mushrooms. I like using these because they're easy to slice and they stay small. But you can use regular or you can use Swiss brown or literally anything that you've got in the fridge. As well as this, if you don't have mushrooms, you can use a different veg, so like something like carrot or something like sweet potato. You can grate that really finely. Again, up to you. So slice this really well. So we just want these to be small slices. If you're using the bigger mushrooms, you want to slice it maybe in half and then half again. With mushrooms, they don't need to be washed. They can just be wiped. These are actually quite clean, so there's no need for me to do it on here. But if you do wash your mushrooms, sometimes they can absorb a bit of that water. They're like a sponge, basically. We don't need to do that. So that's all good. Putting that in. Especially with this recipe, if you don't like pork, we've got bacon as well going into this recipe. You can add in, depending on whatever protein you're using, you can add in like prosciutto, or that's you can add in bacon, beef pieces, or anything like that. Any sort of little meat, or you can add in some sort of veggie version like chickpeas or beans or something like that. Would be awesome. So once these are all chopped up, we're then going to go in with our herbs. So I didn't actually have, the recipe has thyme in it. I forgot to get thyme. So I've got basil, and I might put a bit of rosemary in because I've got it back there. So we may as well use it up. Recipes like this are really good, obviously, because you can just play around with it and do whatever. So that is perfectly fine. So, all right. So now these are all chopped up. I'm doing it very roughly. Please don't judge my cutting skills. I promise you I can cut. So all the mushrooms go straight into the pan with the garlic. And then we go in with some basil, parsley, and we'll do rosemary. So big chunks. We want it to be colourful. So quite a bit. Let's do like, I'm very bad at measuring things. I'll just do it all with my hands. Like, or we're just pretending that I know what I'm doing. So perfect. All right, easy peasy. So I'm just going to give this a quick wash to make sure that there's no little friends that we're going to add into our meal. After that, chop that all up. This can be rough as, because that's going to wilt down in the pan to absolutely nothing. So no stress about that. Righty. So then chucking all of this straight into that pan. So maybe we'll get this started, get this cranking, get this started. So I will just quickly work on something. I'll do fry. Ooh, bit of olive oil in that pot. So we're going to do big squeeze of that. We're gonna let that cook down until the mushrooms are really soft, until they've cooked. With this bacon piece, we are going to just dice them up. So you want it to be quite small. It doesn't really matter because it's all going to go in the middle of that pork, so I won't stress about that too much. So, my friends have just come to my house. Got to tell them I'm on a live. Hi guys, I'm doing a live, just letting you know. So I've got some bacon going straight into there. Just cook it on. Come on in, yeah, doing that. So then I'm gonna do. We're basically gonna cook that for about 15-ish minutes. You guys? No. Yeah. If you want to, yeah. Okay, do that. Yeah. All right, I'll call you after. No, it's fine. My friends want to come visit. They just want to eat. Come back when the food's ready, right? Okay. Perfect. Yeah, so anyway, that's all cooking. That's all done good. So while we've got that cooking and going, we want to get the pork ready. So with a pork fillet, you can use pork tenderloins for this as well. I just use the actual, as in the pork medallion, sorry, not tenderloins. I use pork fillet because it's a real tender piece of meat. It's really nice. So pushing this in, trying to heat this thing up. It's not as hot as my gas. This smells amazing already. Absolutely delicious. Oh, I forgot to put the rosemary in there. We've got to do that. So let's pop some. I always keep my herbs at my tap so that I can chuck them in when I need to. So rosemary goes in. That also can be really rough. We're not going to worry about that too much. So when it comes to the pork fillet, we want to butterfly it open and then we want to pound it out. So you basically want to get the entire fillet sliced in half, but not going through to the other side. So you kind of want to make a little bit of a line down the middle. You don't want to completely touch the other side. So see how we kind of opened it up here? Perfect. Now what you need is some baking paper and like a mallet, so then you can start to pound that out. So it's about 1 centimetre thick. So I'll just quickly do 2 things at once, that's fine. Perfect. So then we're going to do salt and pepper and all of that stuff in here as well, plus a bit of lemon. But we'll do that last. That's no problem at all. Do I have any lemon? Yes, I do. No, I don't. All right. Perfect. So here we go. Baking paper in here. All right. Then we have got the soft side of one of these. We don't want to use the rough side because that will just pound it and make it look a bit too dark. I'm going to turn that down. It's getting a bit loud. So we're just going to pound this out. You can be as rough or with this as possible as you like. It's no problem at all. Obviously, the rougher you be, the thinner it will get. So if it can be a little bit rough, then do that. Sounds probably not very nice for you, but we're going to do what we're going to do. Alright. So I want to get in the middle. So that this is a little bit too thick on this side. So that is all good. So it's about 1 centimetre thick, which is what we want. We want to keep it like that. You can do even thinner if you want to, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. That is no problem at all. Now, with this. Alright. Amazing. So this is something that you can have as a main, or even as like a sort of side entree, because we're gonna slice it into pieces. So it won't necessarily be like something that is quite big on your plate. You can have like a slice of it, plus all your other stuff as well. So this plus salads, plus olives, plus whatever you guys have on Christmas will be perfect. Yum, this is really good. This smells delicious. So salt and pepper goes in there, so we'll do a big pinch. And you can also put some chili in there if you like. If you want a bit of heat, completely up to you. Perfect. If you are intolerant to something like garlic, a lot of the girls in the office have garlic intolerances, and we use garlic oil instead, which is awesome. So if you want that, that's amazing. It smells so good. Bacon cooking is just like the best thing ever. It's so yum. So with the gluten-free breadcrumb, all we need is about a cup of it. But again, we're not going to measure it. We're never going to measure things out like this. So what I will do is we're just going to pour as much as we think will be into this, because I actually didn't measure any of those other ingredients. We're going to put a bit of that crumb and a bit of soy sauce in as well. So soy sauce gives that salty, delicious sort of depth of flavour that this might need. And it's seriously delicious for this type of recipe. So perfect. Wish I tried it with a different protein. I would have tried something maybe like beans or chickpea or something like that in there. That could have been really yum. Really, really good. So with the pork, do we think that's thin enough? Yeah. Could go a little bit thinner. We could, maybe, possibly, if I can find my sheet that I have. No, we'll leave it. Easy peasy. Don't worry about it. So if I had any other veg, I would probably put something like sweet potato, like grate that in there, or even regular potato. You can grate that up in there, just for a little bit of added extra carb, extra fillingness, especially on that Christmas table. It'll be perfect. Yum. I don't even know what we have on Christmas typically. We have like big lamb on the spit. We have like salad, olives, and I always say olives because I'm like, that's the one thing I'm like, if that's on the Christmas table, I'm not coming. Like we make sure that that's on there. Yum. All right. So add that on higher heat so that can really brown up and crisp up. Basically, we're just waiting for that. So if any questions do come through, that'll be super handy so I can ramble on about something else rather than mystery. Perfect. Yeah, I might add a soy sauce in now so that it browns that bacon. It'll be delicious. a little bit in there. I'm going to add like a couple teaspoons at a time. Look how big my soy sauce container is, by the way. That's crazy. You can actually buy gluten-free soy now, which is awesome, or you just use a tamari. Both of those are amazing. So that one is a gluten-free soy. You can buy it, you can use that, or you can use tamari. They're both amazing. Give the same flavour, so it's a perfect swap for that kind of stuff. And those swaps are really easy for a Christmas table as well. It's like something that's so simple like that. That you don't miss out and neither do your guests. So that's super important. Super, super important. All right. Come on. I'm very impatient cook. I like things to be done quickly. And I'm like, it's not happening. So, perfect. All right. I wonder if we can add something to this recipe that makes it a little bit more funky fun. We could, if you wanted to, add some pesto down the bottom. But that's just an added extra bit of fun that we don't actually need to do. Not necessarily need to do that. We need to get this on some high heat. Yes. Go for it. Tell me a question. What's my favourite tamari to use? Oh, I should see if I have my tamari. Should I see if I have my tamari? One moment. It's in my pantry. Hang on a second. I think I've got it either here. Where have I got it? I think it is from. Oh, I don't have it. Goodness me. Dang it. I don't have it. I've got it at the warehouse. But I think that I use the Maggi, that brand. I use that one. Or, honestly, any of them in the Asian aisle are perfectly fine. They're all delicious. Don't worry about that. Anything. Yep. Yeah, so instead of garlic, you can omit it from the recipe altogether and add extra herbs just to like bring up that flavour. Or you can use garlic infused oil if you have that. I have one from Cobram, which I obviously don't have here. It's at my warehouse. So Cobram Estate do a garlic and rosemary oil, and it is my favourite infused oil. It's honestly the most delicious thing ever. So if you can't have garlic but can tolerate the oil, that's a really good option. And instead of bacon, you can do any sort of protein. So I like to bulk this up with, honestly, anything. You can do beans, you can do chickpeas, you can do rice, anything. You can honestly choose anything. I choose a meat because it's easy. You could even do like rice and cheese, something delicious. Yeah, many options. Yum. Yeah. The pork. So as thin as you can possibly get it, about half a centimetre is what we want. I don't have the right paper today, and I don't want to sit there and like absolutely like bash it. But yeah, you want it to be about half a centimetre, as thin as you possibly can get it, because that means the roll will be a lot more thinner, and it will cook quicker in the oven. So if you can get it thin, do that. You're gonna mute yourself? Okay, great. Perfect. That's great. I love the questions, guys. It's really easy and really helpful for me to be able to help you as much as I possibly can. So we're just basically cooking this. So I guess I'll just come up with some other questions that I think you may ask. Things like swapping the herbs. I forgot thyme today. So we've got basil, parsley, and rosemary in here, but I would swap it for something like thyme. It suits that thyme is really good with meat. Rosemary is really good with meat as well. Basil probably not my favourite to go with meat, but I swap out the basil for some thyme. Lemon flavoured thyme would be even better. Yeah. So good. I wish I could do smell cam. I wish you could smell this because it's seriously epic. It's yum. Right. Bit more pepper. So I put quite a bit in there just so that this is super flavourful, so is the meat. So while that's cooking, we're going to do salt and pepper all over the meat because we obviously want that to be flavourful as well. So let's go big pinch of pepper. Might actually oil it up a little bit, so put some olive oil on it. Okay, and then salt and pepper as well. You always want your inside and your outside to taste just as good. So you don't want it just the flavouring to be good. You want everything to be good. So on here, because I've got it right in my kitchen, let's do some dried oregano. Straight in there. And then we're going to flip it. And then I'll need a spoon because I just touched the meat. Then we've got oregano again, salt and pepper. You guys can see this, can't you? Yep, perfect. And then a little bit of salt on top. And with this, if you wanted to do some extra flavouring, you could do some chili flakes, you could do some cumin, you could do rosemary, dried rosemary, you could do the fresh stuff, up to you. The more flavour the better, I say. Way more flavour the better. Alright, so that's starting to look amazing, delicious. Let's see if I can make this a little bit thinner, if I can do it. Found my paper. Let's do this. That's a bit better. That's a bit better. Just want those thicker bits to be a little bit better. So let's turn this back over because we're going to stuff it from the middle. Perfect. So now that is basically cooked, the bacon's brown, what we want to do is we want to get the breadcrumb, we want to pour it into the pan with a little bit of that soy sauce. So I'm going to pour, and as well as this, if you have a bigger pork fillet and it's larger, you can actually get your breadcrumb and get actual thick bread pieces as well, and that'll make a really, really delicious, like chunky crumb, but at the same time it'll be just amazing. So get that gluten-free bread and make it into croutons. So good. So all up, you want about half a cup of this. So you want to see, you want to see every single bit of that bacon piece coated. So have a look at that. I wonder if you guys can sort of see that. It's yum. Taste test, of course. Yeah, that's good. That is good. I need to be wearing an apron. I always wipe my hands on my side of my pants, and you'll see it. You'll be like my mother. She's like, "Stop doing that!" Every single time. All right. So I want you guys to make sure you guys can see this. Get that out of the way. Get this out of the way for you. So now that is cooked, we want a spoon of it. So I'm gonna grab a spoon again, big spoon. You basically want to spoon it into the middle. We'll do it all over the pork fillet. So let's go. Oh, it's really hot. We should probably let this cool, but we don't have time for that. So we're not going to let it cool. We're just going to go straight for it. Pop that in there. This is good. This is good. Put it all over. And some of this will absolutely fall out, so don't stress about that at all. So this is it's actually quite an easy recipe. It's actually quite minimal. There's not really that much work that we need to make sure we're doing. Especially our guests will absolutely love it. I'm going to put it all over because why not? If it falls out, it falls out. Let's see what happens. Just perfect thing to do when we're on live. All right, chuck this in. Okay. Perfecto. So, as you can see, that meat is covered. If we wanted to, we could, and which we will, because why not? We're here. Let's put a few extra pieces of that herb, so you can do whichever herb you like. I'm just going to chuck some basil on top. Basil. All right, perfect. So now that that's done, because that goes into and that just makes it look nice, why not? So we have got skewers, but I don't actually, you want to use toothpicks, but I don't have toothpicks at my house right now. So we're going with big skewers. That's absolutely fine. So I'm going to turn this way. Alrighty. Actually, no, turn it the other way because that way is the bigger way. And we want to roll forward. So we're going to grab these pieces. We're going to try roll as tightly as we possibly can. Things will absolutely fall out, so don't stress, but keeping the middle bits in as much as you can. Go, 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 go. So we can push that in all later. That's absolutely fine. So we're going to go. Now with this skewer, I'm going to pop it all the way through. Obviously, it will be a toothpick on your end, so just use a small toothpick, not a huge skewer. But basically, that's where we start and finish. So once we're there, we're going to put all this into a pan and brown it off. So I will do that now. I'm going to grab a... Is this hot? Yes, that is very hot. We're going to get another pan out here. Let's see. Hopefully, I don't think that's induction safe, but I might just use this one. I'm just going to flip this over. That looks perfect. So even then, a lot of that stuff didn't actually fall out. Whatever did, I just pop in the corners, which is perfectly fine to do. So whatever you've got. And even if you've got extra stuffing now, once it's rolled, you can sit there and pop it in. So even if we grab some stuffing, we're like, oh, we want some more in this corner of it, or in like in the middle bit of it, let's pop it in. Like if you've got extra, which we do in our pan, absolutely do that as much as you possibly can. So that looks really, really good. You can toothpick it shut as well. If you've got smaller toothpicks, you can toothpick that side shut and you can toothpick this side shut to make sure it holds in the oven, in the pan, but either or is fine. So let's just get me a tea towel so I can lift this up. Take some stuff for the extra. So this is hot, so that's why I'm picking it up like this. So we're going to pop the rest of this stuffing just in a bowl because we just need this pan. Usually I just use another pan, but this little portable thing only has induction safe things. Perfect. All right, that is cool. So we're going to keep that there. You can actually serve. Have you ever done stuffing in the oven? So you can actually pop that in there, pop a little bit of stock in the oven, and cook it, and it kind of expands and it makes a really delicious stuffing mixture as well. So that's perfect for that. So let's go here. We want to fry it. We want to do it for medium heat. Olive oil in the pan again. So I know there's obviously some other bits in there, but that's fine. Extra flavour, why not? I'm going to throw that straight in. So we're going to basically pop this whole thing in there. We're going to brown it, and then we're going to pop it in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes to actually cook in the inside. Cook all the way through, and then basically you just take it out, and then you'll cut it into rolls. So where you've toothpicked, you cut it so that it all sticks together. So it's honestly a really, really easy Christmas recipe. Let's just pop this in. Wait for this thing to heat up. I always do that. I stick my hand in there, and my mum is like, "Don't do that every time." I'm like, "Sorry, I just want to make sure it's hot." How else am I going to make sure it's hot? And she's like, "You're not going to have fingerprints." Wait for a couple more minutes. So again, I'm answering questions. If anything comes through, let me know. Happy to answer whatever questions you like, especially even if it's not about swaps and alternatives, even if it's just about food in general. Happy to help. I'm going to get this whole thing and put it in there. Alright, that looks like it's hot. So we're going to pop this whole thing. Hear it sizzle. So you'll hear that quickly. We're going to wait for a couple of minutes on each side, and then we will pop it onto a baking tray. So while that's cooking, I'll clean up a little bit. I'm such a mess. An absolute messy cook, but our recipes turn out delicious. Oh. Alrighty, so that's the paper. Get a tray. So this will go in the oven. Really. So you could do this the night before and just warm it up in the oven. The pork goes really quite tender, so up to you if you want to do this the day of Christmas or the day before, up to you. Right. Looking good. It's looking delicious. I wonder if you can zoom in on this. I can show you, like bring that in the camera maybe a little bit more. It looks good. It looks really good and it smells really, really good. It looks amazing. So again, a swap for this would be maybe you could do chicken thigh or chicken breast. You could butterfly it and then pound it out so it's quite big. Wrap the same thing and it could be little chicken bites or something like that. Yeah, really, really good. Really, really easy recipe. Just going to rock it a little bit because I want to make sure we get that side. Oh, good. Good zoom. That's a good zoom. Amazing. So you can see how that's cooking. Maybe I'll turn it to the side for you. That looks very, very, very tasty and delicious to me. So I'll then I'm going to flip it. And not actually, but a toothpick would be easier. Alright, so you see how that's nice and browned on top? That's exactly what we want. After that, we want to brown this side. Pop it on here, and then anything that's fallen out in the tray, we'll just pop back before we put in the oven. So that way we don't waste anything, nothing's wasted. We can even put some more of this stuff in here that's left over. Either or works really well. I might even turn my oven on now, just so when I get off here, I will then put this on for lunch. So it's a perfect little treat for me. Alright, so we'll just wait for that to get a little bit more brown. Anything? Hello.
I'm going to be seeing this time so you don't feel like you're talking to yourself.
Yes, I think so.
I do have a few more questions that have popped in.
Yep.
One of them was from Robin, and she asked, what type of pork do you use?
So this one was a pork tenderloin or pork fillet. The tenderloin is much more tender piece. So if you're doing things like pork gyros or something like this, and you want it to be quite like thin, pork tenderloin is the best. Pork medallion is one you want to do like steaks or something like that. So definitely use pork tenderloin for something like this.
Perfect. I had another question that came in saying, if you don't like mushrooms, what would you recommend as a replacement?
Yep. So any other veg. So mushrooms are really easy ones. So mushrooms are very mild veg that just you take on any sort of flavour. So maybe a vegetable like that. So something even like asparagus would be delicious. Something like, you could even do beans, you could do potatoes. You could be so creative with this one. Cauliflower, zucchini. I'm just going to be naming veggies. But honestly, anything that it will all work. It will all be delicious.
Perfect. And then when you use your gluten-free flour, is that just to bind the stuffing together?
Gluten-free. So this is the gluten-free breadcrumb.
Breadcrumb.
So yes, that is basic. So it is breadcrumb. So basically that is just to give it that little, like, they expand when they cook in those juices. So they give it that little crumb sort of taste. And yeah, it definitely binds it all together. It definitely brings everything together. And then it kind of, in the oven, when all the juices hit it, it expands, and then it just becomes a delicious stuffing mixture.
Perfect.
So good. All right. Any others? Anything else come through?
I've got another one, but this one's more of a personal one. It was asked, how did you start cooking? Like, what introduced you to cooking?
Yep. So I am Greek. So my grandparents are very into obviously cooking, and our whole culture is revolved around food and eating and family. So as I was younger, my mum would make me and her cook dinner every single night. So I would learn to chop and learn to cut. My grandparents, every time I stayed with them when my parents were at work, same thing. So I just learned from a really young age, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I try to continue in a career for it, which is insane. But yeah, definitely from when I was young, because I was introduced really early.
Perfect. Oh, and another one has just come in.
Yep.
What is your favourite salad recipe to use to accompany this?
To accompany this? So I think the most basic salad, well, it's not basic, but the thing that I love the best is basically like a tomato caprese salad. So I just do cherry tomatoes, and it's any colour, but I like to get multiple colour of cherry tomato just to make it look fancy. Slicing up some red onion and using the basil from this recipe, grabbing that out and having that as like your lettuce, so it's really big leaves of basil. And then you put like fresh mozzarella, so grabbing one of those big balls from the shops and then just tearing it up in the salad. You can then if you use gluten-free croutons in this recipe, you can have those croutons and use them in the salad as well. And then all you do to dress it would be some salt, a little bit of balsamic glaze, and some olive oil. So it's very similar ingredients, very easy to do. Yeah. I'm going to take this off the pan before it burns. So that is literally before I sit there and be like, oh yeah, everything's fine, I'm answering questions and it's burning. So here we've got, like, it's a little bit uncooked, obviously, in the middle, which is fine. So we've got it very cooked on the outside, very cooked on the either side, on the sides, but we need to put it in the oven just to bake for about 15 minutes just so that it cooks on the inside. And then we can chop it up. But obviously we don't have 15 minutes, but I will put this in my oven just so I can have
It's
it
your
for
lunch.
selfishly for lunch. So that's basically it. That is all the recipe that I can give you. But I can also answer more questions for as long as we need or we want. Up to you.
Thank you so much, Leah. That recipe looks so delicious. I actually did have a question. Do you put a sauce on it? Like, do you have a gravy you use with it, or you prefer a different sauce?
Yep, you can absolutely. Like, I think most tables would have some sort of gravy or some sort of dressing, but I really prefer something a lot lighter, like a chimichurri. So it's like olive and fresh herb with like a little bit of lime, and that goes with basically any meat. So always have a chimichurri on our table because it can go with like your skewers, beef skewers, prawns, whatever. So I like to have that because I don't like to have anything heavy. So that, and especially with the herbs that you're already buying, you've already got basil, you've already got parsley, so you can make that up really, really quickly, really, really easily, and that will top really nicely. Yum.
Do you have a favorite dessert that you like to cook for Christmas Day?
So our Christmas Day, like, because obviously being Greek, our Christmas Day is basically 60 plus people. So we never really, it's crazy, it's nuts. And like, I don't even know if we're going to be able to do it this year with all the whole like lockdown thing, but we usually have like all the we call them the oldies, which is like my grandparents. All the oldies will bring a cake each, and it's really funny because my grandma will make a specific cake, and my cousin's grandma, which is like her sister or her brother's wife or whatever, will make the same cake, and we all try and eat it, and we're like, nah, your year made this, your year made this. Like, we all try to they're like, my year's better, your year's better. So it's super fun. So we never have like an actual like thing, like a dessert. It's like literally just a table of like competition between the oldies, like who's made the better dessert. So it's a lot of fun.
I'm Italian, so we had like massive Christmases when I was growing up, and it was the exact same. Like, all the aunties would bring these beautiful dishes, and I
Yeah.
know that like some would like be really well renowned for like certain dishes, and if they
Yeah,
didn't bring it,
that
it was
one.
like, yeah, you didn't bring yours,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yeah, like, you okay? Yeah. Yeah, we've got like my makes because I don't like to eat, like, I eat meat, but I absolutely hate mincemeat in things like yamisa, which is stuffed vegetables, and domades, which is stuffed vine leaves. Like, she puts mince in them. Like, my grandma doesn't, because I like refuse to eat them, so she's like learned to make them without it. And my like sister, well, obviously my cousins, she makes them. So every time I bite into it, I'm like, "Peh," like, your year made this. My year would never make this. It's a lot of fun, a lot of competition. It's great.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. I did want to actually quickly ask you because I know that a lot of the community love your recipes, and you have a guide, and I wanted you to just speak a little bit about that. So if people want to go
Yep.
to it and find more recipes, how they can find you and connect.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously I've got Instagram. So Instagram is my main one, and Facebook as well. So with my guides, they're basically, well, we've got two. So one is a healthy eating guide, which is basically just healthy recipes to help you make the best choices you can during the day, and give you a little bit of inspiration of how to cook and how to learn the food basics and all that kind of stuff, which is really good. In those recipes, we have like swaps and alternatives table that you can use to swap ingredients in and out with. Similar with a new guide that we've released in April, which is it's called the Lean Guide. So it is basically a guide to get you leaner and fitter. So a lot of my community were using my original guide to help them lose weight, or to help them feel leaner or fitter or stronger or whatever it may be. And I wanted to make sure that they were doing that and reaching those goals, if that's their goals, correctly and safely. Really important for us, obviously. So we want to make sure that people are doing it sustainably, not, jumping onto the next bandwagon. So we wanted to come out with a guide that was individually tailored. So that is out now, which is crazy. And again, we have heaps of swaps and alternatives for allergies and intolerances that you can do. So I know we have so many people in our community now. I think there's about 18,000 women in the Facebook group, and a lot of them struggle with things like they can't have onion, they can't have garlic, they can't have gluten, they can't dairy or whatever it is, nuts, seeds, and they all give you their options and some of their swaps and alternatives. I've learned so much from them because I was like, that's crazy, that's such a good one. So that community I think is more valuable than anything. Like it's amazing. But yeah, you can definitely find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook, whatever. Find me on
Yeah.
here.
And we'll make sure that when we pop this up in the library that we provide all your links so people can come follow you and join because I know I am a huge fan of your work. Your recipes are amazing. I know that you
Oh,
did like
thanks.
a kebab, like a souvlaki, and I was having dreams about that. I saw it on Instagram. I
Yes.
literally dreamed about it. I was like,
That's in my lead. It is so good. Yum. That is actually so yum. I have them in the freezer. I'll take some out for you.
perfect. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And yes, we'll make sure we pop everything up and stay tuned because we'll be having our next live at 11 a.m. with Jane Murph from Monash Bodmap.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Leah. Bye.